Mikey. That was intense.
It muted our mics this time so that we couldn't talk over it.
Dude, I was holding my breath, man. I feel like this is an intense week, right? You got to make the picks. You got to figure out what contest you're in. And I feel like it's maybe the most thrilling. It's just thrilling for everybody being week one. I don't know if you're thrilled yet, but that was the vibe I was getting.
It feels like today is kind of the day because for me, I have all of my fantasy football drafts are coalescing around this one day. My weekly poker game has fired an entry into this Circa, and we're talking about how we want to decide how the pick is going to be made. We got
what do they suggest?
There's a handful of suggestions. I mean, I think the most democratic way is just a vote, but then there's 10 people in this, so if there's a tie, I don't know, 2 people nominate one from that group that voted for the team that's tied, and we're just going to slap box.
Okay, there you go. At least there's something to resolve that. I feel like the democracy angle, I'm not sure if that leads to good picks. Just throwing it out there. And also, fantasy, like, man, after you go on a big Survivor run, like, I'm not sure if you'll be bringing that up the rest of the year. I did see a good fantasy stipulation. I don't know if you guys have one of those where you have to like do something bad if you get last place.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen, those are going around on TikTok. I think like the most common one is some dude you have to go to like, I don't know, like Dave and Buster's or like Buffalo Wild Wings on the minute that it opens. So let's say like 10 a.m. and you have to stay till close. Let's say it's like 2 a.m., something like that.
Okay.
And you subtract like, I want to say it's like a half hour for every beer that you drink.
Ooh.
So, most people end up leaving around like 7 and they're completely hammered.
Right. Get me out of here.
Yeah.
I saw one, or not to go deep in the fantasy, right? We got so much Survivor talk, but
they're related.
Yeah, I don't, fantasy is just not as cool as Survivor, I gotta say. But I saw one where, I don't know if this is a joke, but the dude said, like, you have to go to a sperm bank, the loser has to go to a sperm bank and check the allow child to contact me when they're 18. Like, maybe, see what happens, roll the dice.
That one's wild.
Yeah. Anyway, Survivor, we just put out some projections this morning for Circa. We put some projections out about a month ago. That was just kind of the summertime feeler projections. But now we got the first week of projections. And it's worth saying, I haven't seen any other projections out there. The only ones I've seen are people on our team where we're trying to nail down what's happening. I feel like, we like being the first people out there to kind of set what, give everyone something to think about. Yeah. Everyone over time kind of gets used to how we project. And if they think we're wrong about stuff, they can adjust to it in their own ways. But this is our best projections for today. I put the top 5 out on Twitter. The rest are on the website. The interesting things, I think, are Denver. How high is Denver? Some people think they're going to be crazy high. And then Arizona, of course. Arizona is at the perfect, it's a road team, but they're playing someone who's terrible and their future isn't so bright. So why not use them?
I'll tell you this. I'm rooting against Denver.
No matter what.
I will commit to that. I'm not sure who I'm picking, but I'm rooting against Denver in week 1.
What is it for chalk reasons or for like?
No, I'm not going to select them on my own selections.
Okay, you got some reads, some balls.
I have something cooking, yeah, and I don't think, and I think they're going to be super heavily picked, like more than what is being projected that will be on them.
Yes, we went a little bit low on our Denver one compared to where I thought we were going to be. We're saying. But there's not that much, there's only 100% to go around.
Yeah.
So
fair enough.
You got to figure out where it's coming from. And also, you're saying or you're considering the Denver situation, but like your pools, depending on what you're playing, it might be a little different. Like I am pretty sure some pools this year are going to have Arizona as their most popular play, and that might sound crazy, but I think some pools, the pools where people are like try hard, trying to be, everyone's trying to avoid the chalk and punish people later. Those type of pools,
Yeah.
you see where this type of team gets way more action than you expect in pools like that. And the big casual ones, it's hard to imagine game first.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I mean, it's like, if you have a bunch of like brainiac Tom Dwans in it or something, then you're just gonna you're gonna have like an inordinate amount of Arizonas, But if you just have dummies and dopes, it's gonna be Broncos. I would say like Grandissimo might lean Cardinals, and then the main pool will probably lean Denver as an example. I don't know that to be true, and I'm just making it up. I'm shooting from the hip, but that's my initial vibe.
Well, I get what you're saying. I think, or for more specific reasons, I think it's going to be not what you said, but I do like very much. We know the Circa Survivor and Circa Grandissimo are going to have different popularities, right? People are approaching them different. The obvious thing is Grandissimo only has like 50 people, so it's going to end way shorter. So everyone is going to care about the future a little less, right? Like who's going to be hardcore going for the Christmas nuts or whatever, the Christmas save,
right? Yeah, because like in the larger pool, without a doubt, in order to win it, you need a Christmas pick.
Like
in Grandissimo, it's like far less of a concern. If you're at the Christmas pick situation, then chances are your ticket's worth like a lot.
Yes, and also, I mean, it makes me think like Philadelphia, for example. That's the big Thursday.
Yeah,
everyone's thinking about that because you got to start thinking about it now. You don't want to be having your head spinning Thursday before the game, thinking, "Oh, I'll put this in." But in Grandissimo, it seems like Philadelphia probably more popular than the main event or the main circuit.
Well, I don't know if you want to talk like football specific stuff. I'm open to it, but
what do you got in mind, man?
I think it's being overstated, the impact of one defensive player departing.
Yeah, but he's worth about a point or something, right? On the spread. I know defense players aren't usually worth very much, but I think a point. I mean, maybe it's 2, maybe it's a half, but it's like a little. Something.
I think in people's minds, it's like worth 3, and then the reality is like it's 0.5.
Yes. Okay. Well, I mean, the line is, what's the line? 8.5. So you can bet that if you want, but
yeah.
I think there's plenty of like Survivor, like implications of it alone without thinking about the team stuff. Or one thing I'm thinking about, we put out 9% for Philly this morning as our projection in the Circa main event. They need a word for that, by the way. They call it Circa Survivor. That's the main one, and then Circa Grandissimo. I feel like I'm already like, what am I calling this thing? The Circa 1K?
Yeah.
So y'all work on that. Get a name for it. That doesn't confuse me. But what was I saying? Oh yeah. So we think how many people of the field are going to sign up after?
That's a good point too.
Anyway, so is that going to be like 15%? Is it like 25%? I tried to go back and kind of, trace and figure it out, but maybe it's like, let's just throw out 20% because we know there's a big rush at the end.
Okay, that seems fine.
And what were they at? If they were at 15,000 last night, 20% more plus change. That's about on track.
Yeah, and if there's X amount of people that are coming to Las Vegas for week 1 anyway, and they arrive Friday, Saturday, Sunday, whatever that is, then they can enter. Presumably they'll be entering at that point. So,
Yes. So if we I like thinking about projections in like segments of the field, and the kind of everybody's segment, I think something like 7, 8, 9% are taking Philadelphia. I think there's some old examples that kind of line up with this. Not exact fits, but just throwing them out real quick. In 2020, the opening Thursday game, Kansas City was a big favorite. They were the biggest favorite of the week, and they were picked 7%. So that was, like one of the best teams in the league. And the opening Thursday, they went 7%.
That's almost that. I mean, that's going to be the best basis of comparison. I would say it's going to be almost guaranteed, within 1 or 2% of that number, for sure, almost.
All right. Well, I mean, one thing there was different rules in 2020. There was less weeks to get through, and that made people still save a team like Kansas City, who weren't a holiday team, I don't think, that year. And there was no bonus for them. I think it was just they were great, and it was Thursday, and people picked them, I think, 6.8%. And then in 2022, the Bengals, I think, closed as the biggest favorite, and they were part of the bonus for Circa, where if you save them till the end, it's $1 million. They had some extra rule that year where you had to save them to the end and play them on the end, whatever it was. They were picked 7.5% that opening week. I think those are kind of two like spots we can kind of try to join, and that Philadelphia is kind of near that. So let's say they were like 7, 8, and then then Micah Parsons getting traded made just a smidge more people join.
Yeah. Okay. Little hook.
Right, and then like a smidge join for the rebuy idea. There's some people in Circa who want to make sure they have as many entry possibles going into next week, so they pick Philly. They want to rebuy because you can't do that in Circa. If we're at like 8%, but then 20% of the field isn't even can't even show up, and obviously the Kansas City comparison from 2020, if that was on a Thursday, probably had similar dynamics. People showing up late, but I think that was kind of different. Like back then, different vibe. Wasn't as popular.
It wasn't as big. It was like the WSOP in like 1997.
Yeah, it was like 1,300 people.
Yeah.
On average, everyone had 2, and there was no picks every week the whole year or something.
Yeah, that's wild.
Not quite the whole year, but it was there was at least one big no pick near the end where I heard through the grapevine of the person who did it, and they just straight up slept it. Just straight up slept, like sleeping through it.
Like in the literal sense.
You're right. Not like they went to jail or they're out of state or whatever.
Yeah.
But you got to think with 6,000 players, they haven't said how many players, but something like 6,000. Like, what's the average rate for a person having to spend a weekend in jail? Like 1 in 100,000? I don't know exactly, but like some people are going to get
in America. It's like 1 in 200 or something.
50, right? And obviously the Circa crowd's a little different, but there's
in which way it skews higher or lower?
I'm thinking Circa or people are less likely to get locked up for the weekend, but
I could go either way. I could go either way.
Yeah, it could be opposite, right? A bunch of wild people, but life happens. Life gets in the way of people's picks sometimes, and with so many more people, hopefully we just get the stories come out because we know there's going to be some more picks. Anyway, let's get back to projections a little bit more.
Yeah,
I want to just say my piece about them before we start talking about contests and teams. Okay, so we put out Denver 32, Arizona 24, and I think both of these are kind of on the lowish end of reasonable projections. I think both could go higher. The constraint or what? It's like there's only 5 teams that are like real teams playing this
like
week.
Like pickables.
Yes, like the 5 pickables: Denver, Arizona, Washington, Cincinnati, Philadelphia.
Okay, well, before you get going on it, what's the total amount on those?
18, 31, 55. Like 87% ish is what we said.
So even 13% is not a small number.
Yes, that one can vary. The kind of 13% on all the riffraff teams, or all the spicy teams.
Yeah.
I know I'm going to take some of those spicy teams down the list. Some of those teams that you kind of lose value short term, but you gain value long term. I'm gonna take a risk on those. I'm not just locking into the top 5. Trying to beat 20,000 entries, you gotta.
We should do some wackadoo bets for like the total number of players that are going to pick like Jacksonville or some bullshit.
Dude, you put some lines out, I'll crush you on bets on these, dude. Are you prepared? Are you prepared to lose a bunch before the season's even started, dude? You're making me all serious.
That you have to set the line, and I get to take the over under then.
Okay, I like that idea, but I feel like I need you to be more prepared, Mikey, for for firing a bunch of money, because it'd be a bad look if you went 0-10 or whatever. Anyway, yeah. So all the picks are coming from, or not all, but like the vast majority are going to these 5 teams, right? So when people are thinking, Denver, Arizona seems safe-ish, but should I go down? Should I go down to Washington? Should I go down to Cincinnati? We went Washington, Cincinnati, 13%, 9% respectively.
Yeah.
And my gut, and again, I haven't seen other projections. I'm very open to if everyone agrees on something that I'm wrong, I'm working on it. But my gut says, if you look at the map and you start trying to figure out how to get from here to the 20 million bucks at the end, it seems kind of easy for a few weeks, maybe a few months even. It just seems like, I'll just pick that big favorite. Like, this is not that hard.
Yeah, but I'm looking at the map too, and you're burning big dogs if you're going the easy way to get far along.
Yeah.
You are going to be burning some big boys.
Yes. So, like, I feel like there's a certain amount of people who just feel safe enough, and they're like, I don't want to get weird on week 1,
right?
Because I just want to survive so I can do the stuff the next week. I'll be smarter than the crowd next week and the next week. And also the fact that Denver, it's like a holiday team, but they're playing at Kansas City. People are just happy to write them off in Circa and go, oh, future, maybe not that important, right?
Yeah.
For me, the first thing I see at week 1 is, okay, Denver's the biggest favorite. Okay, where can I use them in different weeks? Like that's
what I was just looking at, actually. And obviously you're looking at the same thing. So you see Giants, you see
Jets,
Jacksonville, Raiders. So yeah, I mean, this feels like people think Denver's going to be pretty good this year based on the projection. So I don't know. I guess you'd be, by banking them, you would be betting that they are going to be pretty good this year.
Okay, when you say banking, then you mean like keep them in your pocket, or do you mean like
not selecting them in week 1? You're betting that they're going to be pretty good this year because they're going to be good in week 6, 7, 8, 10. Likely
good.
Yeah.
One thing about the EV stuff is like, I feel like I don't have there's not like a good way to math this out. I just try to like think about it, but there are ways to math it out where it's just we're not there yet. But Denver, like they're the biggest favorite. It's more likely they win than every other team wins. So there's lots of combinations of the universe where Denver's picked like a third, 35%, 32%, whatever the field, and they win. And one of those other 5 or 2 of those other 5, those top 5 teams lose. If there's
so you're excluding Eagles from there.
Are they? Oh, they're bigger. They have a higher line than Denver. I hadn't seen that actually. So hey, good call, Mike. I wonder if that just happened this morning. I don't know. I feel like it shakes things up a little bit. But anyway, like Denver, if they're picked by about a third of the field, regardless of if Philadelphia above or beyond. I'm like, there's lots of combos where they win and Arizona or Washington lose. The idea that Arizona and Washington are both going to win, that's only about 50-50 to happen, that they both win.
Right. If you're parlaying both, it's even money essentially.
Right. So Denver, even though it's only a third of the field using them, there's lots of ways where the contest plays out where they're, instead of being 70% available, they're actually only 40% available, because after a couple times like that, you can really get worn down. So the value, like avoiding the chalk now, gets you those opportunities later, assuming that chalky play like has a spot later. And Denver seems like it has a few. So I will not be having more Denver than the field.
Okay.
I think I got to take some, but just throwing it out there. Also worth talking about how the EV works. Like, it pretty much works. It looks like this every year, and that is week 1. All the really good future teams are plus EV short term. For example, Philadelphia is an obvious example this week. They're a huge favorite, and if you look at the EV numbers for just a single week isolated, they will have a great EV. That's because people are saving them for later. And then all the bad teams, with bad futures, people are happy to take like minus EV on those because it's the first week. People are trying to set themselves up. And, things like there's a pendulum swing in with how people approach it, right? Some people, they learn a lesson and they go kind of chalk brain, and people counter, and there's always kind of people approaching this different. But I think,
looking at the map, if you're going to take, let's adopt the strategy of highest spread, or biggest point spread each and every time, and down the road, how long before we're taking duty piles?
I mean, did you do that? Did you click it? It's kind of like week, after Thanksgiving, you're just stuck with a bunch of teams that are
like
-3.
Yeah. But to be fair, you're at Thanksgiving.
Right. And a lot of people don't want to set themselves up late because the dream of getting late in the contest seems so cool anyway. If I just had an entry worth $100K, that's all I need anyway. I'll just hedge off that.
Kind of reminds me of like playing Tetris. Are you the dude that sets it up for the long one?
Yeah.
Or are you just clearing line after line for until you get to the fast levels?
Right. Are you trying to just entertain yourself, or are you trying to get a high score?
Trying to score, yeah.
And I think the contrast attracts so many people because you can put up a high score and get that $20 million. Like, obviously, there's so many people, it's hard to scoop the field. But I'm telling anyone listening right now, it's totally possible that to turn $1,000 into 20 million pre-tax, just need a little help from the games. And also, how the first week shakes out, impacts the field later, right? Like, which people survive the week 1? Is it the people?
Well, yeah. I mean, look at last year, right? Last year was like a total wackadoo. The big boys lost week 1, 2, and 3, I think, right?
Yes. So to kind of double click on that point, as they say on the tech podcast, last year I made a tweet about this within the last week, I think, about how the people with only 1 entry last year, half of them put it on Cincinnati, the chalk. And the people with lots of entries did it a lot less,
Yeah.
So the chalk, winning and losing week 1,
right.
outsized effect on people with only 1 or 2 entries.
Yeah, because those people wanted to be uber safe with their approach. So they're burn Ravens. Who gives a shit? I need to just make it to next week, and then that's when it stings you.
Yes, and another kind of interesting thing like that is the entries per player. It's like 1 in 3, or 3 entries per player, something like that on average.
That's okay.
And it's 2.7, something like that, whatever.
I would like to see the median versus the average, because I suspect the median is going to be like 1.8 or something like that. If the average will be like whatever 3.5.
Good call. We need to put some more medians on the atlas
Or the mode. The mode is 1. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Mode entry is 1.
So I mean, the fact you're bringing up the median kind of hurts my point, because
you're
a data visualizer, you see stuff like this. But I was going to say something like there's 3 entries per person, and most people, if that represents like the average person, want to put one of those entries on the chalk, like the big favorite.
Yeah.
But because what you said, it's actually not just an average of 3 entries. It's like
not.
some people with 10, some people with
exactly.
1. But that effect, I still feel like that effect. Maybe it's just a psychological effect enough where people are like, I'm good with about a third of my entries being on the big chalk, something like that.
Well, going back to what I was saying, I would bet, and maybe you tell me if this is wrong, like a really low number of people that are entering this tournament will have 3 entries. Doesn't that seem like, I mean, people are going to go 1 for sure. I mean, that's the majority. And then you're going to have, a bunch of 10s.
Yes.
And, who's like, I'm going to do 7. That person doesn't exist.
We did show that on the Atlas last year, entries per person at the starting week. And the strangest one is the weird group of like 24 people with 9 entries. Like,
what is that? Like,
I mean,
maybe something. I don't know. I'm crafting a scenario as to how that happens in my head, where they have somebody do the entry and then they give that person, that person's their proxy, so they have 9, and then that person keeps 1 for them. Something along those lines.
Hey, I know exactly what happens, man. When my family, when we won in 2021, we went in there. We went to Circa with 16K. My sister, my brother-in-law, and me.
Okay.
And man, they got some cool slot machines at the top of the sports book. They got some cool machines. They got the Willy Wonka.
You pass like Texas Hold'em table game or whatever.
Yeah, they got everyone dancing on the tables.
It's hard. It's hard to walk by.
So all those people that ended up with just 9, I'm like, I see y'all. Like, I know it's fun in there, right? You're walking downtown.
What food options do you pass?
What?
On the way in, because if you have 10,000 in your pocket, they don't really Peter Luger Steakhouse or something.
Yeah, they don't have the food in between the front door and the sports bar. I guess you got to go downstairs to Barry's, but you haven't been to Circa yet, right?
Mm-mm.
You don't even know.
And I spent 7 years of my life in Vegas, and I used to drive by it all the time, but.
You did?
I think so, or where it was. I think was it prior to this? I don't know.
They knocked something down. Well, one day we'll get you in there. All right, Mikey, what else we got to talk about today, man? We got these projections. We're going to tune those up as the week goes on. I'm very interested in our Survivor tailgate on Thursday. Hear what people say. People tell me I'm dumb or smart or right on, or I want to hear what everyone's going to say. And not to mention injury news, line moving news, like Philadelphia is now this big favorite. Also,
what I'm curious about is the change to after week 1, the change to week 6, as an example.
Meaning,
the spread projection. I think that in the NFL, people tend to overreact to week.
Ooh, okay.
Because I this is my general theory on football. But if you have a game where one team can be first and goal from the 5-yard line, and their projected points from that possession is probably like 5.5 or something like that, right? And you can throw a pick six from there and, end up with -7 from a 5.5. The swing is just so massive. So like if one team wins 41-3, I don't think that's really yes, that team is likely better, but like I think it's far less as impactful as they're going to make it in the future.
Yes. Okay. I'm with you on that. I do feel like week one is going to lend itself to the most overreactions, right? Because
that by definition, that's what's going to happen for sure.
Yes. And I mean, those spreads, like all those future spreads we have right now, they're based on real markets that you can actually bet on. But you can kind of see they're just the power ratings. They're not that different from the power ratings, just like subtracted
right.
from each other. So we'll be talking about that all year. The different power ratings for each team. I can throw it on the screen right now.
I'm most curious. Okay, so here's another. I keep throwing out all these things, and like you could probably back test me and realize that I'm completely wrong. But like, if we went week to week and took the top 3 spreads past week 5, for example,
okay,
I would want to bet on the underdogs in those 3 games for the rest of the season.
Oh, okay. I think I might take your action on that, dude. I think they're gonna be bigger. They're gonna be bigger dogs by the time we get there.
I don't know. I think it's just I don't know. So like starting at week 5. So I would take. Like even looking at it now and saying it, I'm realizing like I haven't stuck with some real poop-a-doop teams. But
yeah, this. I mean, this has been I guess the 3rd year of us like making our system better for these future spreads.
Yeah.
And dude, I look forward to you running your mouth off talking about how one of them's off and
coming up with all these things, and then I'm just gonna get cooked.
Dude, we gotta get a little scoreboard on the screen where it's like Mikey loses 100, 100, 100.
Yeah.
And I'll get my roll for next year's Circa going
on based off of my wackadoo predictions. So like starting week 5, I would take Patriots plus 8.5 against Buffalo, Houston plus 7.5 against Baltimore, and then Cleveland plus 7 versus Minnesota. You're
skeptical, but hey, legit, you can bet those right now from your state. So, you can,
Well, I'd rather bet you.
Okay. I'm just saying, there's a real market where if you like got a hot read, you're trying to get rich, we'll take some money on that.
But also, I'm gonna have to go, and it's gonna be if I'm doing, like $200 a game or something. So what is that to week 18? So 13 weeks. I'm taking the top 3. So that's 600.
Right. You're losing to the risk-free rate anyway, dude.
I know.
Buy some treasuries and.
I know. That's the other thing is I have to put up cash now to something in January.
Hey, that reminds me. Thinking about the Grandissimo, how big it's getting, and the Circa Survivor. I feel like the Grandissimo entrant is more likely to wait till the last second. Case in point, right here. Don't have a ticket yet. And I feel like people like if you lock up 100K when they announced it back in May,
that's kind of like a fish move.
You did burn about 2,000.
Like more than that.
I think at the time I did the calculation, and my head it was like $2,000.
Okay, all right, that's fair. I mean, you're not going to put it in some
whatever
hedge fund or something. That's like, yeah.
Right, but maybe
that's not nothing.
Right, it's not like
if it was like $100, forget it. But 2,000 is something.
Yeah, so maybe there's a bunch of people waiting. What does the Circa do with the money? They buy treasuries. They put it in.
That's wild. You should ask for like 20,200,000, $246,319 or something.
Yeah, proof of reserves. Like during the season, the money's just sitting there, and they're.
Or if they had like a they put it in like a 6-month bond or something, and then everybody, the winner happens in like week 7 or something. They can't pull it out of their bond yet, so they're like, yeah, we'll pay you, but it's checks in the mail.
That's why they made sure the rules say you don't get your money till next year, y'all. We got to CD.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll note that for asking one of those dudes. I feel like this week, we've been talking all this stuff, and we're not even like really locking in picks right now. We're just like talking.
Yeah, no.
It's intense and like nerve-wracking, but I love it. I'm going to like kind of wallow in it all week.
Well, one thing we can bring up is the different contests that there are. Like we initially had this notion that it was Circa Survivor, end of story, and then yes, Grandissimo, one in that, and that's cool. But like, I had my own internal Survivor with my poker buddies, which I'm sure a lot of people do, and so that in and of itself allows you to participate even if you're not in the Circa. And then there's a handful of other Survivor pools that have cropped up over the last, who knows, like even like some getting in the last few weeks with, so you're, there's all sorts of Survivor, even if you're not in the Circa. And if you're seeing this, and you're in the United States, chances are you can likely enter something in the next like 10 minutes, I'm sure, from your phone.
Ooh, yes. Let's talk about this for a minute. I feel like there's still a bunch of Circa stuff, but Splash, very exciting that we're gonna have 2 of their contests Atlasified, or whatever the word is for having it on Atlas. We're hosting the stuff on Atlas. We know last year there was a bunch of demand. Tons of our community was playing Splash.
Yeah.
And we're gonna, bring it to life in the way that we do. And I know, like, all our big brain community, they're gonna like use it and probably win a bunch of money again, like last year. I would love to know, like, I guess it's kind of skewed for Circa because there's a bias, but what am I trying to say? Oh, just the net winnings of Survivor Atlas community versus like any other segment.
Right. Okay.
Like Circa's hard to do because as the year goes, most people end up being a Survivor Atlas person, and all the caches are kind of like Survivor Atlas caches. But
right.
For Splash, I know we had at least one dude, real smart dude in the Discord, who hit a big one, and it was sweet. I didn't really help him. We tried to share some cool stuff with him last year, and now we're going to bring it to everyone, to all our community. We're going to be doing the $2.5 million. That's like the $150 buy-in, I think, and also the 5K.
Well, if you have a subgroup of the main group that is even spending any number of minutes talking about that underlying thing, chances are they're going to be better than the average person. So like the fact that somebody is in a Discord or, utilizing some sort of website to help them improve, they're light years beyond quite a few of their competition.
That's true, but Survivor's growing and it's reaching all sorts of pockets of America. But yeah, so Survivor Atlas people obviously way smarter than what else?
Yeah.
And
they're virtually guaranteed to not no pick.
Ooh.
Has a Survivor Atlas member no picked?
Ooh.
The line on it is 1.5.
I'm betting no. Just because
you're talking about it, like it's in your mind. You're not gonna. It's hard to imagine.
Dude, it's weird though, because the more you talk about no pick, the more part of your brain's like, you're gonna no pick. You're gonna forget. You're gonna the deadline is not what you thought. Try not to think about that. So Splash, just to like tie this up, you'll see a little link on our website where you can register for those contests.
Yeah.
And we're gonna do all our stuff, present it just like Circa. We're gonna be playing that stuff. Also some other plain Survivor contests. Circa has the holiday rules. There's some other ones we're looking at. And just in general, we're stoked about bringing Atlas to more things because people love staring at it. And sidebar, all the love I got this past week. Thank you so much, everyone. When people send us good stuff, it pumps everyone up. I share it and literally translates into more stuff getting done. So keep that stuff coming. Thank you.
It's not really a group that's going to be like, hey, you suck. You suck, dumb shit. Right? It's kind of like a group. Like, yes, if I'm in the contest and I'm competing against, and somebody else is in the contest, I guess technically we're competing against each other, but like, really, like not for like so long, to the point that when we get there, we'll both be happy anyway.
Yeah, it is funny though, in like the Discord, people hanging out, and people do kind of want everyone else to bust, and I feel like
to some extent, but like it's very different from like a poker final table. That is like a direct correlation to you, laddering. This is not the same. It is the same in some regard, but like by the time you get to that point, the option is present to you to bank a ton of money.
I hear that, but also at the end of Survivor, some people want to team up, and just hold hands and walk over the finish line. They don't want to like play for blood.
Well, I'm team no chop.
Right, you're putting it out there. Yeah. That's what everyone wants to say at the beginning of the year. You got to
run it once.
Build your leverage.
No chop.
Thinking of good vibes and community stuff, I'm trying to tap in. Like it's the first week, and I'm trying to like feel out some superstitions, like which ones are going to carry me. You know what I mean? Like you don't want to just find out in week 3. You got to kind of feel it out. So for today's show, I don't know if you check out my Meatball Brothers, the winners from last year. I got all the signatures, and shout out to those guys. They had such good energy when I met them at the winners ceremony that when I just saw it in my closet today, I feel like maybe this is my talisman, my powerful like artifact that's going to propel me. So we'll see about that. Shout out Meatball Brothers. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the Circa and like what I'd like. Mikey's gone. Let me get this map up here. All right, so we do put this on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Hey, Mikey, as audio, but I'm bringing up just some visuals. I'm going to try to say what I'm seeing, so those who aren't seeing it still get an idea. Okay, we talked about these 5 choices. The bulk of like your picks probably should be from all those.
87%.
87% is what we project, but like really, you could go 100% on these top 5 teams if like there's still ways to construct it where you're only picking from these teams and like getting ahead of the field.
The problem is the feeling that you're going to get if you're outside of these 5 and you book a win.
Well, yeah,
that is a feeling.
The thing is, like all these teams that aren't the top 5, Jacksonville, Rams, Pittsburgh, Green Bay, New England, whatever, they're all most likely going to win. Most of the time, those teams win.
What about Jacksonville? That's kind of like a real wackadoo.
Yeah, dude, that's going to be the hottest basement pick, right?
Because you essentially have virtually no other time that you can pick them.
Well, yes, virtually, but don't lock into that before you've seen any football played yet, right?
Yeah.
But that's a good point. But also, I think the opponents for Jacksonville, Carolina, people have a little bit of like worried about them, just like a little tiny bit, like, oh, maybe they're not stone terrible. And I think the same kind of vibe is on Washington versus the Giants, where the Giants.
Yes, you're right, and their point spread's higher, but it's the same vibe.
Yes, they're in the same kind of bucket, right? 64-69, not that big a difference, but the vibe of, or for the Giants is, okay, they have a good defense, and maybe they just need the elite game manager dude.
Exactly. That's the part that worries me. I'm always like on board with like smashing rookies, you know? I just feel like
Smashing them.
NFL's a different game, so like
we're not smashing them in there. We're smashing their hopes, or what do you mean?
Like I think like rookies have far better chance of being smashed than somebody like Russell Wilson.
Okay.
Russell Wilson's like, what are you going to throw at him that he's going to be like, oh, this is new,
Right.
Like he's capable. He's clearly capable of competing. He might suck. He might be slow. He's old and all this stuff.
The old stuff kind of matters. Like I feel like last year, Kirk Cousins, he just showed up with like Bambi legs for the whole season or something like that, where you don't know when the
bottom drops out.
Yeah, I think that's kind of a thing.
And to be fair, I would have got smoked with Jaden Daniels, performing very well last year.
Right. Well, he kind of showed his mettle. I think that was week 3. He seemed like MVP when he beat Cincinnati. But
yeah.
So thinking about like where the popularity is going to go based on what we're saying, I got this feeling that people just don't want to take Washington because of that little bit of fear, and
I have that.
Well, that's
for sure.
You were going Washington and Cincinnati. You like Cincinnati at Cleveland still, or what?
I think so. Yeah. I think that's what I think.
I haven't done our EV stuff with the projections at the very current lines, but I think with what we put out, the Cincinnati and Washington are like the clear plus EV picks out of the 5. Philadelphia, it will be the most short-term plus EV, but people more hesitant to use them because of the future stuff, right? Like you want to burn the Super Bowl champ before you see it.
There's a handful of teams that have like hammer future value. Like obviously Ravens, Bills, Eagles, those are like jump out in my mind as like the top tier, and like Kansas City, I suppose, and like maybe even like the Lions to some extent. But
here's the power ratings of the actual, like this is what the markets are saying the power ratings are. Baltimore, they're saying is the most powerful, 6.8, Buffalo 6.4, Kansas City 6.3. Philadelphia is not even a top 3 team in the market power ratings, just saying.
Right. Well, I mean, what's interesting there is like, yes, if you burn all those, then you're in week 7 or whatever.
Right.
So like there is some value to that, but I don't know. It's so hard to so some days I wake up and I'm just like a survive and advance guy, and then other days I wake up and I'm like, let's get crafty here and save someone for the future.
Yes.
And I never land on it squarely. It can change day to day.
Yes. Dude, it's so hard. Like just that decision right there you just said, like survive and advance or get a little froggy. Like I can't ever lock that in a few days beforehand. I feel like
and again, like I harped on this the last time. It's it's like poker. You're presented with like 2-3 options: bet, check, fold. That's it. And the simplicity is what makes it so wild.
Yes. So I think, or also kind of a nice boost to the Survivor is that I think the schedule is kind of awesome this year for Survivor. We got an opening night game that's big implications. Friday, virtually no implications. Monday, virtually no implications. So we got the Thursday, and then it's all Sunday. Yeah. And also looking at the teams on our little teams tab here, you can see all the good teams are playing on the holidays.
Yeah.
And
so that is like less of a factor, I suppose, than it was in previous years.
Well, I mean, they always try to do it, but this year just seems like particularly hard because all the good teams are holiday teams, except Buffalo. Buffalo is obviously elite and no holiday team, but man, Buffalo is such a strong, like what has it been for like 5 years straight, maybe more. Buffalo, the last few weeks of the season is like money. because they play the Jets and the Dolphins and the Patriots are beating up on these teams in these divisional games. They're kind of like not that they're a get out of jail free card or like survive no matter what, but that's kind of like the team everyone's gonna. You have to use some strategic thinking when you use them. But shoot, that's the same for everything. So what am I even saying right now?
There's a few things I'm going to need you to set lines on. Well, maybe we'll start it next week. And we can come into it more prepared. But here's some ideas that I'm formulating.
Okay.
First one is I need you to set a line on the total number of selections in Circa, the main pool, that are on dogs.
Oh. Well, last year 31 teams got picked week 1. Did you know that?
I did not.
Actually, that's probably a good thing to pull up, because just having in mind, like having that stuff in mind, interesting. How low did people go week 1 last year? Let's see. So this wasn't really ready to show this, but you can see there's a bunch of teams here, +3, +5.5, that all had 1, 1, 1, 2, 3, 3, 3.
Yeah.
3.
Okay. So I'm going to need you to set a line, and I'll take the over or under.
Like Green Bay, maybe interesting. They were the underdog in that opening Friday game last year, and they were picked 14 times as an underdog on that Friday. So that was probably the people most anxious to rebuy, right? They're just like,
yeah,
put me on a team. Green Bay at Philadelphia opening night. That's what they took. So yeah, we should get all 32 teams covered this year, which is funny. I'm not going to be taking any of those reaching that far down. The thing is about
week 2 has much closer lines.
For now,
maybe not. Yeah, I don't know.
The thing about reaching to an underdog week 1, like you can already just reach to one of the favorites who are
less favorite.
Right, the favorites who are going to be like less than 1% owned, popular.
Right.
Like just get on that instead of an underdog. There's no team that's so bad that it helps your future so much that you burn them. Like you don't get any bonus for burning the worst team. It's nice because it
right. Well, that's the other thing is like an example of an underdog that I would just like, separate from this entire contest would be like the Lions at Green Bay. And so, yeah, you can do that and think you're cool, but what about in week 4 when they're -10.5? Why don't we book them for that time instead of when they're an underdog?
Yes. I don't know what's going through people's head picking that. I think they just maybe don't know anything. Maybe it's some syndicates who like they have 100 entries and they just put 1 on every team and then fill out the rest. I don't know.
Maybe.
But those teams like the EV. Okay, so I've been trying to think of this. I want to like model this, maybe make some tools, but I have this idea. Like, how much EV can you burn week 1 and be good? Like, for example, let's use
taking the Giants or like taking.
Let's stick with one of the small favorites. Let's use Jacksonville because they have one of the worst futures, right?
All right, yeah.
So if you pick them, they're not a big enough favorite. They will be minus EV for this week. Like you're going to lose something like 5% of your value on average, something like that.
Yeah.
But your resources, all your teams in your pocket, the teams in the clip or whatever you want to call it.
Right.
You have like the strongest thing going. So what is
your entry, if it gets through, is the strongest in the tournament, essentially.
Right. I mean, we're rounding off some teams, right? Because someone's going to pick an underdog that wins. That's bad.
But that's not necessarily. I mean, Jacksonville's pretty bad. I mean, they're 3.5-point favorite now, but they're essentially not going to be a favorite for the rest of the year. Maybe in a couple more. Like Seattle is like 1.5 and Tennessee is 1.5. But like for the they might be the pick that is the strongest. That makes you the strongest in the rest of the season.
I think, or definitely not that, because there's at least like 10 or 12 teams that are worse, have worse future value. For example, Cleveland, New Orleans.
Cleveland looks like a duty pile. So so if you pick Cleveland this week and you win, then you have the strongest ticket in the field.
Right. Let's go with that. Yeah. But so not burning a useful team. How much does it raise your whole future situation? Right. Like there's 20 weeks. It was 19 weeks that you're more flexible now.
But in week 2, it raises it like not at all.
Right, because you haven't eliminated a bunch of your teams anyway.
Right.
But it does give you that kind of added flexibility each week. It's kind of like maybe it's compounding in a way where
I was going to say there's going to be a week where it turns the corner and it's like it really helps because you're going to get to a week, like let's call it week 9, where 80% of people have burned Baltimore, Buffalo, and I don't know, whatever, like 4 of the best 5, and you're going to have burned 3 of the best 5, or something like that, and now you're going to be in the driver's seat. That's where the value is going to,
right. So
be had.
So it's hard to put a number on that, right? It's hard to quantify that. Like we know,
especially when there's 20,000 people. That makes it nearly impossible.
Yeah, I think long term though, some people are going to be figuring out some stuff. I think as far as like Survivor, like game theory stuff, we're only kind of scratching the surface. I do think there's some long term interesting stuff where I hope some people think about it.
So do you think there's a right answer? If you have one entry in the tournament, there's a right answer?
Well, think about it like this. Let's say you could just burn a team week 1 that didn't have any future games. So you guarantee there's no accidental way to back into value for it. It's just that's it. How much does that raise your future not having burned a real team? There's some value on that. The easy, obviously Philadelphia, you save them and then you have them available late in the season. It's a lot different than Jacksonville, right? We can, just in your heart, it's clear the value is different, but there is some line or some number on how much it's worth. So, like, if the Jacksonville pick loses 5% EV short term, but all the flexibility of the next 19 rounds, can you overcome that, or is it?
My initial inclination is that it's like it raises you like going into week 2 by like 0.4% or something like that, which is like completely negligible. And then, well, not completely negligible. It's some money, $4, but but like into week 3, then it'll exactly what you said. It's compounding. So then it's like 1.6%, and then it'll be like 4%, and then it might be like whatever 11.5, something like that.
Yeah, where and you might. Again, I wish I could quantify this, but just throwing out the flexibility might save you millions of dollars at the right week. Like it's hard to and just in general, if you're doing it from like a value point of view, maybe it's just worth throwing the $40 on the ground in week 1 because you can be more flexible later for everyone and where you can punish them right back.
Yeah,
that it's maybe we'll have some people talking about this. I feel like
it's just so thin, such a thin line early on, because you're talking about like one decision being like plus 0.25 and the other decision being like plus 0.26 or something like that.
Yes, it's thin, and I wouldn't say people should really get deep in the weeds on small field stuff, but
early in the tournament, I would say.
Yeah, but
clearly the decision-making process is like far more, easy to understand, large, you can understand the implications, and you can kind of map out where the rest of the pool is if there's, let's say, 200 people left or something like that. That's far more important. And the decision that you're making at that point is not like 0.25 to 0.26. It's like, 17% to 23%, where it's like, that 5% is representative of like, $2 million or something.
Yes. Yeah. It does seem like that's for me, that's the easiest to play the last week, but we've seen some big mistakes. I think 3 years in a row where people just lit some value on fire. So it's not easy to everyone, it's still a hard game.
It's still wild that you can screw it up that bad, because it's almost like you're playing chess and you have 3 or 4 days to look at the board before you decide what move you're going to make, and the fact that you can still screw it up is, I don't know.
Right. It's worth saying though, there's one guy last year who I think made a mistake last week, and I take shots at him just to kind of get a point across. But there's some stuff that happens where maybe he couldn't have got on the right play because he started hedging and then lines changed or some weird stuff happened. I don't know, but hey, we hit an hour. This has been a lot of fun. I can't wait to keep doing this and win all this money by us just kind of BSing about football. So on that note, hey, thanks for hanging out, everybody. Survivor Tailgate on Thursday, 4:00 Vegas time before the games, and stay tuned to Survivor Outlets. We got a bunch of cool stuff, and I appreciate everyone tuning in. Outro time.